Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
And this is Kai, and we have another great discussion for you today. The movie of the day is actually two movies. We're still doing our reboot month for August 2024. We watched Star Wars episodes 4 and episodes 1. Episode 4 is from 1977, if I remember correctly, and episode 1 is from 1999. Yeah, spoiler warning if you haven't seen them. They both are pretty old, but yeah, just want to give you a heads up before we get into it. Jason's going to read a brief description.
Yeah, so I want to read a brief description of A New Hope only, and so that's the better one maybe in our discussion. Yes. So in a galaxy far, far away, the Rebel Alliance is fighting against the tyrannical Galactic Empire. Princess Leia Organa, a leader of the rebellion, is captured by the dark and menacing Darth Vader while trying to deliver the plans for the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star. The plans are hidden in the memory of a droid named R2-D2, who, along with his companion, C-3PO, escapes the desert planet Tatooine. There, they encounter a young farm boy named Luke Skywalker. With the help of the wise and mysterious Obi-Wan Kenobi, the roguish Han Solo, and his co-pilot Chewbacca, Luke embarks on a daring mission to rescue Princess Leia and destroy the Death Star. Along the way, Luke discovers his connection to the Force and begins his journey to become a Jedi Knight. So that's a description of A New Hope, which is like, I don't know, it's kind of funny because it's like, I guess you can see like episode 4, and then there's episode 1, which we watched, and then episode 7, which is like the start of the next trilogy, basically after this. They kind of tell the same story. There's some added flavor to things.
Yeah. A little bit of a mix, but it's pretty much the same exact story. I think the only difference is the technology.
In making the movies, I think.
In making the movies, yes. In making the movies, because it's very practical in episode 4 versus,
and then episode 1. There's a lot of CGI and
all CGI.
I feel like that's what sucks about it. Where like definitely, and granted, like 1999 when episode 1 comes out, it's like everyone was doing CGI for everything because on a movie making process, it must have been easier for people to make CGI versions of things than what they did in Star Wars, right? In the original Star Wars.
Yeah, but it felt like in 99, I think making CGI was still time consuming.
Yeah, and then it only like lasts for like a year of like looking like how you wanted it, and then it just falls off a cliff.
Like when I was watching it, so I was watching it when I was like setting up things in this new apartment, and I was like, man, this CGI looks like shit.
Yeah. And like everything stands out. They all look like they're in front of a blue screen or a green screen. And when actors are told to like be talking to like say Jar Jar Binks, it doesn't even look like they're looking at like what Jar Jar Binks should be looking at or whatever. So that kind of messes up with the immersion of like, oh, this is a cool fantasy world and all that stuff, which because it makes episode 4 a much better movie. Definitely.
Yeah. I think the practical effects help it too. Like the story, I think the fact that it felt so new, like that was something I wrote in my notes, was episode 4 felt like something new. Like they had sci-fi films before it, but this just had its own style and feel and like you said, flavor, versus episode 1. It just felt like a retelling of the original, but very clunky.
Yeah, very clunky, and where episode 4, I don't know why. I think my phone was listening in that we like watched Star Wars and stuff, and so it showed me like a behind the scenes image of this like artist deciding to paint like thousands of stormtroopers, and they painted like a realistic version of like what the hangar will look like, and they filmed that basically because like it looks so good, and so you put like you see the time that people put into it, and then you see episode 1, it just kind of just takes you out of everything, and you're like, this is like, yeah, it's cool, Star Wars in the modern age for like millennia type of like era, but they did so much work for making episode 4 work and everything.
Yeah.
Like they actually had people inside of like R2D2 and C3PO. Like there were actual people walking around in those things, and like probably in the middle of the desert sweating buckets inside of those little tin cans.
I saw a picture of one of them smoking, like in the suit. Like somebody put a cigarette to their mouth while they were in the suit, and I was like, "Come on, man! You couldn't just wait until you were done recording."
No, he's like, I can't take it off. It's like, now they're gonna make me put it back on, but
I gotta put this thing back on. It took an hour. Like,
yeah, right. Now, okay, so watching episode 4 and then episode 1, what do you feel like are the best things of those two movies, or each one of those movies?
There were some shots in episode 4 that I really enjoyed, like C3PO walking through the sand dunes. I really enjoyed that. I do like that they brought that back in episode 7 with Rey. She's like in sand dunes and she's like searching for something. That was pretty cool. That callback. I really enjoyed the practical effects. I think me watching the documentary on, I think it's like IFC, that did all the practicals and then eventually became the CGI company. Watching that documentary on Disney Plus really gave me a different admiration for episode 4. So I'm happy I watched that. Episode 1, the costumes and the set design were pretty cool. Other than that, I was like, I don't really give a damn about this movie. Jar Jar Binks pissed me off the entire time.
Yeah, it's funny. Patty and I were like, "Oh, like I actually liked Jar Jar Binks when I was younger and stuff." But then watching it again, you're like, "No, this guy was a douchebag." And he's like, Patty was like, "There's no point of him being in the movie."
Yes, and he's in the entire movie.
I think they could have fixed Jar Jar Binks if he was more of a serious character, like the other Jar Jar Binks characters, like the army that kind of show up and everything and try to fight against the clones or the droids and stuff. Like it probably would have been like a little bit easier to take in. They just decided to make him like the fumbling goof of like it's John Candy in the background or something, or like the Chris Farley of the movie and stuff. But like it kind of just goes nowhere.
Goes south like quick. Like within the first 5-10 minutes, I was like, I'm sick of this guy. Like, get him out of here. But I still have 2 hours. It's a 2-hour movie. I still don't get like, we watched 2 hours of
that. What I like what I like from both actually is the score and the music and everything. There's always that subtle background music. In episode 1, The Phantom Menace, when they're like attacking where Princess Amidala came from, like where they're like attacking the little city and everything, like there's that subtle kind of like music in the background for the action, and then the music changes and builds up for different action and stuff. And it's the same thing with episode 1, and I think both of them had their own unique scores, which kind of made them different. I liked episode 4's score better, like the music that was in the background and everything. I felt like it fit the movie more. We can tell they put a lot into like matching music up against the tone of the scenes, and especially like when like the bad dudes are coming into the show. And I think that's like also like the two positives of both of these movies are the bad dudes. Darth Vader stands out for episode 4. Like he's like a scary dude, and then Darth Maul just like in episode 1 is like a totally different like scary. Like he's like, oh, he's not like menacing. Like he's like gigantic like Darth Vader. Like Darth Maul is like actually looks scary. Like, looks like the devil.
Being scared of Darth Maul. Like as a kid when that came out, watching the trailers, I was like, oh, I don't want to watch that movie. That dude is scary as hell. Did you know like Sofia Coppola was in episode 1?
No, actually. What?
Yeah. She plays like Sasha or something. I didn't even know until like I took a snippet of the cast that she was in it, and I was like, where is she? And I had to like Google to find exactly where she was.
That's interesting. Well, I wonder if like George Lucas was like, come on, like he has the dudes that he hangs out with and everything. Like, who wants to be in my movie?
I need somebody to play this one character. I know your dad. Like, come on, just be in the movie. We'll get a check for it. Come on.
But like, yeah. So it's like, I do think another thing that I find like it's interesting is I find episode 1's story better at like creating a want and need to watch the next movie. Like there's the whole aspect of like there's the Sith coming back and everything. You're like, if you didn't know what the hell was going on, you're like, what's the Sith and this Darth Maul dude, and then the politics that are going on within, like how Palpatine's like setting up the whole Empire thing. And then Anakin being like, oh, like, is he going to be good or bad and stuff? And like, I think it sets up better of wanting to watch the next movie in the sequence than episode 4, where episode 4 was like, oh, this was fun to watch. But then you're like, okay, like I'm like, just kind of ends. And then they blew up the big ball and you're like, all right, well, like, is that the end or how do they do more and everything? And so it's like, I feel like it set up a better storyline with episode 1.
Do you think George Lucas had the idea to have this many Star Wars films when he went into making episode 4?
Definitely not like 7, 8, and 9, but the fact that he already called it episode 4, right? Like shows that he already had a sense that like, oh, this is like the middle of the story. Yeah. Right?
Which is crazy. Crazy to think about because I guess I can't even say Ocean's 11 did that. Like, who's like, hey, I'm going to start in the middle of the story and then figure out how to work my way back to the beginning.
Yeah, it kind of like goes on the same scale as like the Lord of the Rings. Like when like J.K. or George or what was his Tolkien is writing Lord of the Rings, like he's sort of like, and then there's that prequel, that The Hobbit and stuff like, so it's almost the same vein where it's like, man, like he knew the story was much bigger than he was thinking, and he was just trying to like plant the seeds for all of these storylines that he can like, and look what's happening now. Like Disney's like going like mad with everything, and they're adding all these stories to this thing, kind of messing it up, but. Yes. I think he definitely had the thought for 6 movies, and that's it.
6 is a good number. Like, I don't even know where they're at now. They're at what, 9?
Right. It's very ambitious. They're at 9.
That's true. And aren't they gonna have more?
And you can add more with like what Solo and like the other movies and stuff. Like
Rogue One.
There's a lot of like side movies. Yeah. Which I think Rogue One is probably like the best movie out of all of them.
Rogue One is great. Yeah, Rogue One is really good. But then all the TV shows too now. And they just keep adding more.
That's why I think they're doing too much of it. It kind of like deflates the universe. Even though the universe can be so big, it's like, all right, you're just adding in. It's like the same thing what they did with Marvel. They just did the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. They just all become the same thing. So. And
then as a viewer, you get confused. Now, okay, where did we leave off?
Yeah, and which is nice with Star Wars because they have that like scrolling text because it can catch you up, but like you can only go so far with that with those 3 paragraphs that they showed you. Now, do you think Jar Jar Binks is the worst part of episode 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
Easily. I couldn't wait for that movie to be done.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but I think it's Jar Jar and then the CGI that kind of take you out of everything. Like, there's way too much CGI that like it's hard to watch the entire movie. It's just like you're more so hoping that the story keeps up, and you're like, all right, the story's like keeping me there at least to continue watching this 2-hour movie of just like Jar Jar fumbling around.
I agree.
Do you
I still
do you
don't
see
understand
anything wrong with
how it became a 2-hour film?
Well,
anything wrong with what?
I think that back then 2 hours was like the standard, right? It was like get them in the seats for 2 hours and we got their money's worth. Or like
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Now, do you see anything wrong with A New Hope, which is like the one that starts off this whole saga, basically from the 70s?
Not really. Maybe if I'm nitpicky, but I didn't. As I was watching it, I didn't have any gripes or any dislikes.
Yeah, me either. Where it's like, I think it's a solid film. It's not the best film in the world and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I always see it as like a lot of people like describe it as like it's a Western in space, basically, because there's like, I think you can kind of see that there's a lot of like scenic shots and everything. There's that kind of like story aspect of like the character of Luke Skywalker kind of being this like subtle hero within this, and then so it's interesting. It's an opera in space and everything. But I do see. I think the main thing is that like the story is not all there. I think until you get to the second movie or episode 5. It definitely made me want to watch the rest of these now. Watching these first 2 or like basically the first 2 in the trilogies.
Yeah.
And so it kind of makes me want to watch the rest of the Star Wars movies, but I'm like, that's like what, like a couple of days worth of like sitting down and watching.
It's like trying to watch all the Harry Potter films.
Yeah, right. So I've watched those many times before too, but okay. So how do you sell episode 1 to someone, or like we know everyone should be watching episode 4 and then the original trilogy, but like how do you get someone to watch episode 1?
I would say you can't truly understand the world of Star Wars without watching that, like 1, 2, and 3. That would be the only way I could sell it. Other than that, I would be like, hey, just skip it. Jar Jar is a pain in the ass. Yeah. That's the only way I could sell it.
That is true. Like if you're really trying to get the meat of the story of like what's going on, episodes 1, 2, and 3, because it's like what thrusts Luke Skywalker's character into this like whole saga and everything. So it's like it's a very fitting need to watch the first 3, because it's like you have no clue why episodes 4, 5, and 6 even exist, because of that and stuff. And so, but yeah, if you're not too hard pressed to like learn all that stuff, just watch episode 4, 5, and 6, and that's it. And don't even watch like I think 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. No.
In my opinion, but because those things suck too. Is they like just like mess up the story, and there's like all this random stuff and everything.
But the
there's
CGI
like no point.
Is good.
Yeah, but like I don't know. Have we gone back and watched those, and like maybe the CGI has fallen off a cliff too?
I think they're still new enough.
Could be.
Yeah, I think they're new enough that we might be okay.
Yeah, well, we wait another. Probably by 2030, those things are going to be like, they're going to have to remake them.
Yeah, they're going to be dog shit.
Right. All right, Kai, you want to take us out?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Saturday Night Popcorn. I'm Kai.
And I'm Jason. I'll be back next week for another one. And please let us know if you watched the Star Wars films that we just discussed, episodes 4 and 1. And let us know in the comments below if you liked them, disliked them, or what you thought about them. If you liked Jar Jar Binks from episode 1. And then please like and subscribe to Saturday Night Popcorn for more podcasts like these.